everyone. Tilt it up. There we go. Perfect. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well today and have had a nice Monday so far. I'm Hallie. For those of you who may be new, for those of you who are joining us again, welcome back. I do have to go over kind of my little setup and a few announcements before we begin. So if you've been with us before, you've probably heard this a million times and you already have your setup going on, which is wonderful. So in that case, pick a comfortable seated position, get into child's pose, lay down on your back, whatever feels right for you. Pick a pose that you resonate with, that you love, that feels good for you, and start there while I take a few minutes to just kind of go over this setup. So I have a hardwood floor, then I have a rug, and then I really have 2 yoga mats that I'm working on. So I'm padded under my knees and under my wrists to begin with. If you are working directly on a hard surface, please, please, please grab something. A pillow, a blanket, a towel, a t-shirt even is better than nothing. We want no unnecessary pressure on your joints, especially your knees. Over time, it's just wear and tear on your knees. So literally anything will do just to protect your knees, and if you have sensitive wrists, your wrists as well. And I'll remind you guys, I won't be putting a blanket underneath because I have everything underneath my yoga mat. But I'll let you guys know when a good time is to grab something to put under your knees. But it's just anytime there's extra weight on your knees. Other than that, I have yoga blocks here. Yoga blocks are a wonderful tool to bring the floor up to you. They create space and they actually help develop poses a little bit. Allow you to get into the correct alignment in some poses, allow you to get deeper into some poses. Wonderful tool, huge fan of blocks. Now, almost anything can be used for a block. Anything that's between like 2 to 8 inches, it doesn't quite matter because these blocks go on different levels, right? So anything that's just sturdy between that height. Toilet paper roll works, paper towel works, or paper towel roll works, soup can, paint can, foam roller. That foam roller is nice and sturdy over there. The only thing you want to be careful with is some of those things are rolling, so you don't want to put it on the rolling side. Other than that, I have a strap over here. It's pink. Now, a strap is wonderful if you are on the tighter side. It helps link things together. Links your hands behind your back. It allows you to basically grab your feet if you can't actually grab your feet. What can be used instead of this is a tie, a belt, an old phone cord works. Basically anything that's long and, again, sturdy. We won't be doing any dedicated strap work, so again, this is just for someone who's on the tighter side, although sometimes I will demonstrate how to use the strap, but this is in no way necessary for class. Last thing I've got back here is I've got a pillow. Now, traditionally in yoga, you'd be using something more like a bolster. I don't have a bolster. I use this nice fluffy pillow. But a pillow is great to pad either under your knees to protect your joints, to connect things together as well, in like half pigeon, pad it under your hips. Different poses, you can use it as padding just to create some more support, kind of like a block, although softer and more comfortable. The last thing is that I am pregnant, so there are a few things that I can't do. However, I'll let you know when I'm not doing something that I want you guys to do. They are few and far between because yoga is so prenatal friendly. The one glaring thing that you will definitely see is at the end, I know that longer laying flat on my back. So I create this little propped up situation with my blocks and my pillow to create a little bit of an angle. So that's the one time you'll see me definitely doing something that you guys are not doing. Again, you can join me in any modifications that I'm making, but really they're so few and far between, and I'll let you know when I'm doing them so that you're not kind of confused about anything. Other than that, Let's get started in a comfortable seated position. So if you've been in another pose, come back to seated. And really from the waist down, I don't care what you're doing. You can sit cross-legged like I am. You can have your legs out wide, legs out straight. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. Now, the one thing I do want you to do here is kind of wiggle a little bit side to side. Some people really like actually taking their hands and placing it under the meaty part of your hips and pulling your hips or pulling that meaty space away to really create this nice grounding feeling through your hips. You should feel nice and stable here. I prefer just kind of rocking back and forth and really finding my center and taking a moment to actually feel grounded here, feel connected, feel nice and stable and sturdy. And then we'll work a little bit from the waist up. And really what we're doing here is part breathing, which is a huge part of yoga, also just a little bit of a posture assessment. And why we do this is because this is so important throughout all of the poses that we're about to be doing. And if your posture is poor, if you're curved down, if you're not engaging your core, that can follow you throughout the practice. So this is just like a little bit of prep work to get us into this practice. So core up and in, elongating and protecting through that lower and mid back. Squeezing those shoulder blades together just a little bit. So you don't want to have your shoulders rounded forward. You want to squeeze your shoulder blades, but your chest shouldn't be like popping out like that. It's not an over dramatic thing. We just want our shoulders in line, creating that nice upper back posture here. And then lastly, notice where your head is. If I'm not directly straight in your view, stop looking at me. I want you to look straight ahead, right at like your horizon line. Don't look up, don't look down. Finding that center. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And let's do just 3 deep, clearing breaths together. So I want you to inhale through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth. Good, again, inhale, filling up. Exhale, clearing out. One more, nice deep inhale. Big clearing exhale. Wonderful. Now it's always an option to just stay here. Stay seated, stay breathing. That could be your yoga practice today. If you feel like you've got a lot built up, a lot of emotions, and you just want to work on clearing all of those emotions, all of those thoughts out of your head, almost meditating for the next, 50 minutes, whatever it is that's left, use this time. Sit down, breathe, clear. That is one part of yoga that is so important. So if you feel like you need to take a break at all during this class as well, come into seated, come into child's pose, any pose that feels good for you. All right. So remember, that's always an option, just nice seated position. Let's put our left hand down to the ground. Right arm comes up and over. We're just reaching through our side body here. So if you notice my left arm, I have a little bit of a bend in that elbow. Now I'm a little bit more flexible on this side than I am on the other side. So I can actually go down all the way onto my forearm here. Now, if you're a little bit more flexible, wonderful, come down onto your forearm, but make sure that this right hip doesn't lift up off the ground. If that right hip lifts up off the ground, you need to plant your hand again and then just use that elbow as a hinge point to come down. We're just reaching over here. You should get a nice side body stretch somewhere. So right now, I'm actually feeling it in my obliques, which is the side of my abs right here. You may feel it in your shoulder, in your lat, which is kind of where your ribs are. You may feel it in your hip flexor, the front of your hip. You may feel it in your lower back. It will vary based on where you are the tightest. We're just breathing here, getting this nice side body stretch and really pushing out. So you can actually use your hand to resist against the mat a little bit, keeping that body nice and sturdy as you reach out. And make sure that just because you land in a pose, and we'll be doing this throughout the next however long we have left together, we're gonna land in a lot of poses. But just because you landed there doesn't mean you need to stay there. You can make these small adjustments so you can go deeper into a pose. You can see where that point is where you want to stop and make that decision for yourself. And that's what yoga is making these poses work for you today. And let's just go right to the other side. Right hand down, left arm up and over. And again, as I said, I'm tighter on this side, so when I come down, you can see my left hip lifts up. So I can't come down onto that forearm. I need to use my elbow as that hinge to really reach out and over. And you may feel this in the same location that you felt it on the first one. You may feel it in a different location. Feel this on more of my shoulder on this side. Again, we're just reaching out, getting that nice side body stretch somewhere. Wonderful. Let's slowly release. We're going to do a bind behind our back, stretching out our shoulders. So I'm just going to turn to the side here. I'm going to grab the strap. If you tight shoulders and a tight chest, you may need to use the strap. Now we're going to intertwine your hands behind your back. If you can't intertwine your hands, this is where a strap comes in handy. But you could also use a t-shirt. You could use a pillow. Anything that basically allows you to hold on to one side or the other of it to join your hands together in some way. So joining our hands in that bind, and then from here doing a nice big shoulder shrug up and back, and then extending through your arms. Just reaching back with your hands here. If you don't feel much, you can start to lift your fingertips up towards your head. Just make sure you don't come forward with your body as you do that. You want to just isolate those arms straight up. Good. Let's slowly release. So move down to our lower body for just a few stretches. We are going to go into bound angles. So we're going to bring the soles of our feet together. Now, I love this stretch. However, I've been known to injure myself in this stretch quite a few times. So I use my blocks here. You can use a rolled up blanket, a pillow underneath your knees for support. If you know that your hips are weak or that they could pop out of place, please use something under your knees to just help support there. Now there's tons of options in this pose. My favorite right now, and I go through phases with this, is keeping my back nice and straight and just hinging forward from my hips, getting a nice deep stretch in my hip flexors, my groin, my inner thighs. But if that doesn't work for you, we hate it. Use your hands to push down on those knees. You could use your peace fingers in between your big toes to lift up on your feet. You could open up your feet like a book. All of those are great options for bound angle. And just breathing here, getting a nice stretch. Using your breath in each pose. Seeing if with each inhale and then each exhale, you can release a little bit more. Letting yourself go deeper. Really using the breath as a tool. Good, slowly come up. We're gonna keep our left knee bent in. We're gonna extend our right leg straight. So we're going to go into head to knee pose. Now your left foot should be right above your knee, kind of like if you were in tree. This is like a seated tree. I'm gonna keep my support, my block underneath my knee. You can keep it there if you have one or remove it. Let's inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, start to come forward. So what we're trying to do here is get our forehead to our knee. Now, just because you can doesn't mean you have to. You could just kind of relax your hands and arms down here. You could use your hand against your foot to resist back if your hand meets your foot. If you can easily get your forehead to your knee and you're like, I don't feel anything, try for your chin to your knee, trying to extend a little further. I'm just breathing here. And notice if you point or flex your foot. Notice what happens there to the stretch. When your toes are pointed up to the ceiling, when your foot is flexed, you should feel this stretch a little bit deeper, but also you're engaging your muscles. So you're working your muscles at the same time. This is where people get into trouble a little bit if they've never done yoga before. They go into a class and they're like, oh, it's just stretching, I shouldn't feel sore. And then the next day they wake up very, very, very sore. My husband did that to himself. He said he couldn't get out of bed. He had to call in sick to work the next day after the first time he did yoga. It was not with me, trust me, it wasn't with me. It was way before I met him. So it's like this kind of, you don't even realize you're doing it. You think you're just going into this nice deep stretch, but really you're engaging your muscles at the same time you're stretching them, so you are working them. So be careful there that, you know, if you're new to yoga, not to do so much. I want to make sure that you get out of it. All right, let's revolve this. So your right hand goes to the inside of that right calf. Left arm comes up and over. So again, just this kind of side body stretch. What I want you to do is use this right arm as leverage. You can see as I'm here, I'm using this right arm to twist my body so that I'm trying to flatten out my body as much as possible out to the side. And then I get my left arm involved and reach towards those toes. Now, hopefully you feel this in your lower back a little bit more than in your hamstring. That's what we're aiming for. And you can keep rotating up towards the ceiling, really getting a nice deep rotation there, if that feels good for you. Good, let's release. We're gonna go into a seated figure four now. I've been craving this for the last couple days. I've been doing it kind of nonstop. So we're gonna all do it together. We're gonna lift our left ankle on top of your right leg. Now you're above your knee. You're on the thigh with the ankle, and your knee may be into your chest. That's fine. All you wanna do is kind of lean in here. And if you already feel a stretch in your hips, stay here. Don't do anything else. If you don't feel it, bend into your right knee, plant your right foot, and then your hands can go behind you, and then you want to collapse the distance. So you want to walk your hips forward towards your heel. We'll walk those hands with your hips. You don't want your upper body all the way back down here. You want to keep your chest nice and close to that left leg. Now, if you are lucky enough to have a couch or a wall behind you, you could use that instead of your hands to keep your back nice and straight. And then you can kind of use your arms to actually pull in with your legs a little bit tighter. You should feel a nice deep outer hip stretch here. And again, you're just using your breath. Maybe you're flexing your foot, engaging those muscles. Good. Let's release all of this. We're going to move to the other side. So I want you to bend your right knee in. Left leg is out straight. We're going to go head to knee pose. Inhale those arms up overhead. Exhale, fall forward. And again, Your hands can just relax down next to your leg. You can grip the bottom of your foot. If your forehead easily reaches your knee, try for your chin to your knee. And again, you should feel this in your hamstrings. However, if your lower back is really tight, you'll feel this in your lower back as well. I definitely feel it in my lower back on this side. Didn't feel it in my lower back on the other side. And it's really important to notice. So that's why a lot of times I'll tell you where I'm feeling things and maybe why I'm feeling things. It's because I want you to do that assessment on your own. I want you to do that assessment of yourself. I want you to notice where you actually feel things, how you're feeling them. It's really making that connection with your body. And that's part of yoga, is having that connection, knowing what's going on, actually feeling the things, the poses, the stretches, the muscles, all of that is part of yoga. Good, let's come up and revolve this. So your left hand goes to the inside of your left calf, right arm up and over. But again, we're using this left arm as leverage to twist that body. So come down, twist that body, really have your chest looking out to the side, and then add in that right arm. I see a lot of people, a lot of times, just kind of reaching over. Really, we want to expand here and not collapse. You should typically feel this in your lower back. However, right now I'm definitely feeling this in my lower back and in my hip flexor as well. Good, let's release and go into that seated figure four. So, right ankle on top of your left leg. Again, you're above the knee. Your knee may be into your chest. All you want to do is drop that knee down. If you already feel the stretch, stay here. Don't do anything. If you don't, remember we're going to bend into that left knee, plant that left foot. Hands go right next to your hips. And then from there, you want to collapse the distance between that left heel and your hips. Now, again, if you're lucky enough to have a wall behind you, why not use it? I love a wall as a prop, as a support piece. I think it comes in handy. When I used to, all of those many months ago, leave the house or go to a public yoga class, I would always pick a spot in class that if it didn't have a wall nearby, it had something, some piece of support, like a beam or a pole or something that I could use to help deepen my poses. Good, let's slowly release here. We're gonna move into our tabletop position. Shoulders over elbows over wrists, hips over your knees. So this is a place where if you aren't nicely padded like I am underneath my yoga mat, I have multiple yoga mats, this is where you should get that pillow, blanket, towel, whatever it is to put underneath your knees. And then once you're here, just kind of finding that center, again, just like we did seated, core engaged up and in, feeling some length through your upper back, your middle back, and lower back. Looking straight down to your mat, or maybe even just a little bit out to keep that head and neck nice and long and straight. And then we're going to drop into some cat-cow. So I want you to inhale forward, pushing up through your head and through your butt, dropping that belly down. And then exhale, pushing up through your back, curving up. And then just moving through these at your own pace and speed, inhaling forward. Exhale, curving up. And I encourage you to try to push yourself to the limits here, to really drop down as much as you can, feeling that nice stretch through your belly. And as you round up, engaging that core, feeling nice and strong, you can start to do a little bit of a hip or a pelvic tilt here, hinging forward, engaging that lower core. And then just moving through at your own pace and speed. Loosening up that back, engaging your muscles. And let's add in some organic movements. If you want, you can stick with those cat-cows, or you can start to get some circles. If you're doing circles with your hips or body, make sure you just go both directions. This is a great place to close your eyes. I find that closing my eyes here allows me to be a little bit more fluid with my body. It allows me to just feel and connect instead of worrying about anything else. Good. From here, we're going to go into our downward facing dog. So, toes go under, knees lift off the mat, hips go up the back, into your downward facing dog. Now, this is one of those places where I'm making a slight modification, which you may or may not notice. My feet are just out wider than they would typically be. So your feet should be typically at a hips width distance. I just have mine out to almost the edges of my mat to make some space and room for baby. And then from here, kind of bringing that organic movement that we just did in those cat-cows with us, bending into one knee, bending into the other, shifting your hips side to side. Good, really nodding out your head and neck, relaxing that down. Making just small adjustments here, finding more down dog today. Each day it will be slightly different. That's okay. Let's move through some modified flow here. Taking a nice big inhale. Exhale, walk your hands back to your feet. Pausing here in this forward fold, letting that head and neck drop. This first time through, we're not going to connect breath with movement. The second time through, we'll connect breath with movement. Let's roll up to stand, nice and slow. As fast or as slow feels good for you, but we just want to really concentrate on coming up to stand. Once we're up to stand, we're going to come right into our mountain pose. So we're going to roll those shoulders back, nice and strong here. Same kind of thing as that seated position. Core up and in, kind of doing a little upper body alignment, checking in. And then hands and arms relax down. Now, traditionally, you want your hips right over your knees, right over your ankles. But if your feet are super wide because of baby, that's fine. Leave them super wide. They don't have to come back to hips width distance. Good. From this mountain pose, let's lift our arms up overhead. And then we're going to do a nice deep side bend to the right side. And then come back through center. Same thing, left side, nice deep side bend. Back through center. And here, after those side bends, you may want to try for a little bit of a back bend. Going as far back as you like. You can release your head backwards. It's up to you. You can do a baby back bend, or you can just stay straight. And then hands come through heart center, releasing all the way down into your forward fold. Coming halfway up into your flat back, squeezing those shoulders, engaging your core, coming halfway up. And then walking your hands forward into your down dog. So this is our modified flow today. Take a nice big inhale. And an exhale, walk your hands back to your feet. One inhale. One exhale in this forward fold. Rolling up to stand. Again, your own pace, but try to make it slow. Once you're up into your mountain pose, nice and strong here, feeling powerful. One inhale, one exhale. Inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale, center. Maybe a little back bend. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, hands walk forward, down dog. All right, let's go through that a couple more times. Nice big inhale. Exhale, hands walk back to your feet. One inhale. One exhale. Rolling up to stand. Into that mountain pose, nice and strong here. A lot of muscles are engaged. One inhale. One exhale. Inhale those arms up overhead. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale, center, maybe small back bend. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands walk forward, down dog. Good. Move through again, nice big inhale. Exhale, hands walk back to your feet. One inhale. One exhale. Rolling up to stand. Into that mountain pose. One inhale. One exhale. Inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands walk forward, down dog. Wonderful. So we're going to move to go through some sun salutation A's. Now, if you want a more restorative practice, stick with that flow that we just did. There's no reason you should move into the sunset, full sun salutation A's. You liked what we were doing, stick with it. Let's take a nice big inhale here. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, rise all the way up through stand, reaching your arms up overhead. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale to that flat back. Planting your hands, high plank. Halfway down, elbows in, low plank. And this is a great place for knees down. Upward facing dog or cobra, hips forward, shoulders back. Downward facing dog. Taking a couple breaths in this downward facing dog. Nice big inhale. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, rise all the way up and reach up. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, flat back. High through low plank. Remember, knees down, great option. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good, let's move through just a few more. Nice big inhale. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, rise all the way up and reach up. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, flat back. High through low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good, last one, nice big inhale. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, rise all the way up and reach up. Exhale, fall forward. Inhale, flat back. High through low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Wonderful. Now you can always come down to tabletop or child's pose if you want. If not, we're just holding this down dog nice and strong. Good. If you're in child's pose or tabletop, slowly making your way back into your downward facing dog. Good. From here, right leg comes straight up behind you for your three-legged dog, lifting as high as you can go. And then right foot comes between your hands. Now we're in our runner's lunge. If your foot did not land between your hands, and it may be like back here, we actually want to move it between your hands. You're setting yourself up for all of the next poses. Good. From here, we're going to rotate that left heel down to the right side, actually planting that whole foot down, windmilling our arms up into our warrior two. So you should have a nice back. And as you get here, like my hip just felt a little weird, come out of it for a second. Make sure you're okay. Make sure nothing's gonna hurt or pop out of place. Just because you landed somewhere doesn't mean you need to stay there. But what it does is it gives you another opportunity to really sink into this pose. So your knee should be right over your ankle, arms are out. I look straight out from my chest because there's less pressure on my neck. Traditionally, you would look over your front, middle, or pointer finger here. Just breathing here, nice and strong. If you want to take this pose up a little bit, squeeze your inner thighs together. So it'll give you like a little tiny bit of a lift that'll engage your legs a bit more. Got it. From here, let's straighten out that front knee, hinge forward, and down into your triangle pose. Now this is a great spot for a block. Underneath that right hand to create some space, if you'd like. Pay attention to this left hip. Make sure this left hip isn't pointed down to the ground. A lot of times people bring their right hand down all the way to the ground and it collapses this left hip forward. We really want to keep our body as flat out to the side as we can. Good. From here, let's lift all the way back up to stand. So we're going to turn our right foot to face forward. Now that we're forward to the long end of your mat. So you should be in a wide leg stance. We're going to go into a forward fold. Now there's tons of options for your upper body and your arms here. What I'm going to do is that bind that we did in the beginning of class. I'm going to intertwine my hands behind my back. Big shoulder shrug up and back, extend through my arms. Big inhale. Exhale, coming all the way down. And then letting those hands all over your head. You can always release your hands down to the ground here at any point. Maybe your head comes all the way down to the ground. Maybe your head comes down to walk. Great option. Good, let's come into our flat back. So coming halfway up. And then using that core coming all the way back to stand. So we're gonna go to a wide leg lunge now. It's a little tiny bit tricky, so just bear with me here. I want you to start to bend into that right knee, coming down super far. So what you might wanna do is point your toes out just a tiny bit. Move them about 1 inch to 2 inches. You don't want it full back out straight. just like 1 to 2 inches out, so that you're towards that top corner of your mat. And then coming down, you can bring your hands down to the ground. You can keep your hands at heart center. And we're gonna lift your left toes up towards the ceiling. Just going nice and slow, listening to your body here. You should feel a nice stretch through this leg. It'll be harder to hover your hands and arms. A little easier, hands can come down to the ground. Now let's just shift and go right to the other side, so through center, bending, lifting your toes up. Again, your hands can come to heart center, nice deep bend in this knee. Make sure your heel is down to the ground. If it's not, come up, walk that foot a little bit further away. Land that heel down. Good, come back to center. Inhale to a flat back. And then all the way up to stand. Now, we're going to turn our left toes to face the bottom of our mat. Arms come out, hinge forward or backwards, and come down into your triangle. We're just going to the other side. So you will end up facing the back of your mat right now, but don't worry about it. Good. Lifting back up right into your warrior two. So just bending into the left knee, taking a moment here, finding that nice deep bend, knee right over your ankle. I failed to mention this on the first side. Make sure your knee isn't collapsing in. I see that a lot where your knee is collapsing in. You want your knee towards your first toe, arms out. Again, I look out to the side. You can look out over front of your hand if you'd like. Just nice and strong in this warrior two. And then windmill your arms down, lifting that right heel up. So we're in our runner's lunge. Your left foot is between your hands. And then let's move through our chaturanga, high plank. Halfway down, low plank, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Wonderful job, guys. Let's move down to tabletop. We're gonna lay on our backs. So as I said in the beginning of class, this is one thing you'll see that's glaringly different from what I'm asking you guys to do. However, it's super comfortable if you have blocks or a pillow that you'd like to do it with. Come join me. So I have one block on medium level and one block on the lowest level right in front of it. And then I just drape my pillow on top. Whatever you're bringing with you for Shavasana, this is a classic yoga class. We do have a Shavasana at the end, a pillow, a blanket, a towel, a sweatshirt. Bring it now so you don't have to get up again. And then once you're down, semi-laid down as I am, or fully laid down on your back, bring your knees into your chest, rocking side to side or back and forth. Just massaging out your hips and lower back against the ground. And again, this space, my knees are just a little bit out wider than they typically would be to create space for baby. But you can always play around with that. Play around with your leg position, your foot position, your knee position. A lot of times it's suggested to be at hips width distance. There are some poses that stray away from that. However, really it's about paying attention to your body, what works for you. Good. Let's move into happy baby. So your knees are going to go out super wide towards your armpits. And then you're going to grab behind your thighs, your calves, or your feet here. Now, I like the more kind of active version of this pose. So I'm using my hands to really pull down on my legs. My arm muscles are engaged, my leg muscles are engaged, but some people like the more kind of restorative version of this pose where They're relaxed with their hands. They're not really gripping their hands on their legs, and they're just kind of swaying side to side here. So pick what works for you. The same thing can be said if you're behind your thighs, you're really actively pulling, or you're just kind of relaxed and letting your hands kind of quietly hold on to those thighs. Again, bringing your knees back into your chest. Again, just rocking. And keeping your knees bent, release your feet down to the ground. So we're gonna go into 2 bridges today. If you know wheel is part of your practice, you feel comfortable doing it, go for it. I'm not going to teach it. I'm not involved with that decision. That decision is yours. If you're like, I don't know what wheel is, please don't look it up and please don't try it. It is for a yoga instructor to walk you through doing, which I am not doing today. We're going to do bridges today. So first thing is just setting yourself up. Walking your heels back towards your fingertips. Now a lot of times people say have your fingertips touch your heels. I find that's uncomfortable for my body specifically. I've got long legs. Usually I'm within 1 to 2 inches of my fingertips, and that works for me. It puts less pressure on my knees. So finding your foot position within 1 to 2 inches, I'd say, of your fingertips is probably the best for almost everyone. And then from here, rounding through that back a little bit. So we're doing a pelvic tilt. We're making sure that your lower back is flat against the ground. There's no space to put your hands underneath your back. Your lower core is engaged. And then take a nice big inhale here. And an exhale, push your hips up. Now I like to just do an initial, okay, I push my hips up, not like slam into the furthest position I can with this pose. So I lift my hips up and then I take a nice deep inhale. And an exhale, see if I can push up a little higher. And then just keep going. Again, nice big inhale. Exhale, push up. Maybe a last one, nice big inhale. Exhale, see if there's any more room to push up. Feeling those quads work, your butt work, nice and strong here. If you're looking for a more restorative practice today, a block underneath your hips and relaxing down is wonderful. You could go into restorative bridge instead of this active bridge. If you decide on restorative bridge, just stay up the whole time. Don't move down in between. Nice big inhale. Exhale, slowly come down. Good, moving nice and slow. Let's just kind of shake out our legs a little bit. I like this a little windmill with your, or windshield wiper, sorry, with your knees. I was like, that's not the right word. Windshield wiper with your knees, letting your right knee drop into the center, left knee goes out to the side, and vice versa, just rolling through. I always get a nice stretch in my hip flexor and in my quads as doing this. I feel like it's sort of like a 2-for-1. I'm resetting for my second bridge or my next bridge. I'm also getting a little extra stretch in there. All right, let's just set up for the second one. You always want to reset when you're coming into another one, especially when you've done something in between, because your foot position is not going to be the same. So again, finding that place, engaging that pelvic tilt, squeezing that lower core, making sure there's no space in your lower back. You're fully flat on the ground or on a pillow, on an angle. Nice big inhale. Exhale, push up, just that initial push. And then if you're joining me in this kind of little incremental lifts, come join me, nice big inhale. Exhale, push a little higher. Good, let's do 2 more, nice big inhale. Exhale, keep lifting. Good, last one, nice big inhale. Exhale, lift up as high as you can go. Feeling that butt work, quads work, hamstrings work, nice and strong. Seems like a baby is contesting this. She's screaming out from the inside, put me down. Nice big inhale. Exhale, slowly come down. Let's go into knee knot pose. So you want to walk your feet to the wide edges of your mat and then drop those knees into the center. If you hate this, if it feels terrible, you can always stick with that windshield wiper thing that we were doing before. This is just another way to kind of reset a little bit. Good, and then we're gonna completely flip this. So walk your feet towards each other. Bringing the soles of your feet together, knees go out to the side now, or bound angle lying down. You can use your hands to push out on your legs. You could put blocks underneath your knees like we did in the seated version of this. You could also put blocks on top of your knees here if you'd like a little bit of extra weight to help deepen this for you. And then maybe placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, taking a moment to connect with your body. A lot of times we just kind of roll through life, only noticing our body when something goes wrong, when something hurts. But our body does a lot all day, every day. Our heart beats, our lungs expand and contract. We just want to take this one moment to say thank you. Let's expand into a full body stretch. Arms reaching up overhead, legs out nice and straight, really reaching up with your fingertips, pointing and flexing your feet. We're going to transition into Shavasana now. However, if you love spinal twists, feel free to go into spinal twists before Shavasana or any other pose that you really love. You can feel free to add it in now before Shavasana, or just finding yourself a comfortable position. And it could be any position. Traditionally for yoga, you'd be laying on your back, legs splayed open, palms up towards the ceiling. However, if it's more comfortable for you, you can move into a seated position. If you have a bed or a couch nearby, feel free to use it. Once you've found that comfortable position for your body, doing a scan from the top of your head all the way down to your feet, relaxing each and every muscle. Once your body is relaxed, start to relax your mind, attempting to let go of all thoughts and feelings. If you notice that thoughts start to come into your head, just try to let it slip away. Shutting behind a door, evaporating into the air. Slowly taking a deep inhale and a big exhale. Slowly starting to move your fingers and your toes. Bending your knees and curling up on one side of your body. Taking a moment here, curled up, to release something. Some stress, some annoyance, some anger. We all have it, whether it be big or small. We often forget that we get to choose our own emotions and our own reactions. And that choosing to let go can be such a powerful thing. Slowly pushing yourself up to seated. Either resting your hands on your knees or bringing your hands to heart center. Together, let's take one last deep inhale. Big clearing exhale. And with gratitude, namaste. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed class today. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on the chat function or use the Q&A function. Remember the Q&A function, you can ask things anonymously. I will stay on for the next few minutes to answer anything. Otherwise, see you all on Wednesday. Thank you. Have a great night.